1. We're checking out this sweet 1976 Chevy Scottsdale pickup that's popped up on Craigslist for $15,000. Let me tell you, finding these classic trucks in this kind of condition isn't easy these days. This particular Scottsdale is rocking its original beige paint after a restoration, and with only 59,650 miles on the clock, that's incredibly low for a truck of this age. Under the hood, you've got the reliable 350 V8 engine, which was a fantastic power plant for these trucks. It's paired with an automatic transmission, making it a comfortable daily driver if you're so inclined. The seller mentions it's been restored to its original color, and the interior has been redone as well. One thing to note, it's got a working heater but no AC, which is pretty common for trucks from this era. The clean title is definitely a plus. Now, being honest with you all, while $15K might seem a bit steep to some, restored classic trucks have been climbing in value. The seller is open to offers, so there might be some room for negotiation. The low mileage and restoration work definitely add to its value. But as with any classic vehicle, I'd recommend a thorough in-person inspection before pulling the trigger. These 70s Scottsdale pickups are becoming increasingly popular among collectors and enthusiasts, and this one seems to be a pretty solid example. Just remember, you're not just buying a truck, you're investing in a piece of American automotive history. 2. We're looking at a pretty interesting 1979 Chevy K5 Blazer that's up for grabs at $9,500. And let me tell you, this one's got a surprise under the hood. Let's be completely honest here. From the outside, this K5 isn't going to win any beauty contests, and the seller's straight up about that with their "don't let the looks fool you" disclaimer. There's some minor rust on the rear fender well, but here's where it gets exciting. This beast is packing a freshly built 396 big block with only 80 miles on it. We're talking 375 horsepower and 430 FTLBs of torque, and the seller's got the dyno sheets to prove it. The good news continues with the fundamentals. The floors and frame are solid, which is crucial for any K5 from this era. It's rolling on brand new tires, and they've added some nice touches like new front bumper guards, a new grille, and fresh door panels. The factory seats are still in place, and it's got a clean Arizona title, which typically means less rust concerns than you'd find in other regions. For $9,500 firm, and the seller's pretty clear about that, you're getting a 4x4 K5 with a monster motor that's ready to rumble. Sure, it might need some cosmetic love, but with that kind of power under the hood and solid bones, this could be a great project for someone who wants a powerful classic SUV with potential. Remember, with 100K on the odometer but only 80 miles on the new engine, you're essentially getting a fresh power plant in a classic wrapper. Just be prepared for the attention you'll get when that 396 roars to life. 3. Let's talk about this 1984 Chevy Scottsdale pickup that's currently listed for $9,700. This one's coming from a classic car dealer in Raleigh, NC, with some interesting history behind it. What we've got here is a one-owner truck with 143,000 original miles, which honestly isn't bad for a vehicle pushing 40 years old. It's powered by the 5.0L V8 engine and comes with four-wheel drive, making it both practical and capable. The long bed configuration adds to its utility factor. What makes this Scottsdale particularly interesting is its documented history. It's been in Raleigh its whole life and comes with service records, which is pretty rare for a truck of this age. It's equipped with some nice features for its era: air conditioning, power disc brakes, PDB, power steering, PS, and a full gauge package. Being completely honest here, at $9,700, plus their dealer fees, taxes, and tags, you're paying a premium for the documented one-owner history and dealer backing. The seller describes it as being in good original condition, which typically means it's not restored, but has been maintained well enough to preserve its originality. One thing to note, this is coming from a dealer that's been in business for 39 years specializing in low-mileage vehicles. So while the price might seem high compared to private party sales, you're dealing with an established business. For anyone interested in a survivor-style 80s Scottsdale with documented history, this could be worth checking out. Just remember to factor in that additional $598 documentation fee and other dealer costs when considering the total price. These square-body Chevys are gaining popularity among collectors, and finding one with known history is becoming increasingly rare. 4. We're looking at a 1979 Ford F-100 that's listed for $18,000, and I've got to be completely honest with you about this one. There's something interesting going on here. The seller lists the condition as excellent, but there's a bit of a disconnect we need to talk about. First, let's acknowledge the elephant in the room. 264,013 miles is a lot of miles, even for these tough old Fords. While these trucks are known for their durability, that's some serious mileage we can't ignore. The seller states it's in great condition and drives well, but also mentions it needs minor updates, which seems a bit contradictory to the excellent condition claim. At $18,000, this is pretty steep pricing for an F-100 with this many miles, even in today's inflated classic truck market. It's got the 8-cylinder engine and automatic transmission combo, which is desirable, and the 4WD setup adds value. The gray paint might be original or a respray. The listing doesn't specify. While these late 70s F-100s are becoming increasingly collectible, and good ones are getting harder to find, I'd really want to see a lot more details and documentation to justify that $18,000 asking price. The good news is the seller is willing to negotiate, which they probably should be. If you're interested in this truck, you'll definitely want to do a thorough in-person inspection, focusing on rust issues common to these trucks, and maybe bring along a mechanic to check out that high-mileage drivetrain. 5. We're looking at something really special, a 1977 GMC Sierra C25 Camper Special that's been given one serious overhaul, listed at $14,500. Let me tell you, this isn't your average classic truck. Let's be real here. This is basically a ground-up rebuild. The seller has done an incredibly thorough job, and I mean thorough. We're talking about a freshly rebuilt 454 big block with 0 miles on it, paired with a rebuilt TH400 transmission. That's a bulletproof powertrain combo right there. The list of new components is honestly impressive. Complete brake system, full rewiring with American Auto Wire, which is top-shelf stuff, new dual exhaust, fresh radiator, and a rebuilt suspension with all the trimmings. The AC system's been rebuilt, which is a huge plus for a classic truck, and they've even installed new power windows. Cosmetically, it's sporting a newer base-to-clear paint job in black, custom billet grille, new bumpers, and fresh upholstery throughout, including carpet and headliner. The underside hasn't been forgotten either, with fresh undercoating and a new Positraction rear end. Now, while the odometer shows 96,066 miles, it has rolled over, but honestly, that's almost irrelevant given how much has been renewed on this truck. This is a camper special with heavy-duty suspension and brakes, which means it's built for serious work while still looking good doing it. At $14,500, considering the extensive rebuild and the current market for classic trucks, this actually seems like a pretty solid deal. You're getting a modernized classic with all the heavy lifting already done. The seller's right. Compared to a new truck at 4 to 5 times the price, this restored classic could actually appreciate in value while giving you that unmistakable vintage charm with modern reliability. 6. We're checking out a sweet 1963 Chevy C10 short bed that's listed for $23,000, and let me tell you, this one's got some nice upgrades. This is one of those desirable big window C10s, which collectors really love. Under the hood, it's running a 350 V8 paired with an automatic transmission, a reliable and proven combination that's much more practical than the original powertrain. The sellers added some great modern conveniences like power steering and 4-wheel power disc brakes, which really improve the driving experience. What's catching my eye here is the attention to detail. They've recently restored the wooden bed, which is a crucial feature on these trucks, and the chrome and moldings are described as excellent. The truck's sitting on chrome alloys with good rubber, and they've upgraded the interior with new leather, which is a nice touch for comfort. The odometer shows 13,030 miles, which is likely since a restoration or rebuild, as these trucks are now 60 years old. A big plus is that it's a California truck with a clean title and current registration, which typically means less rust concerns than trucks from other regions. At $23,000, while it's not cheap, you're getting a nicely sorted classic that's been upgraded for modern usability. The seller mentions it's reliable, runs great, and is comfortable on the freeway without overheating. All important factors if you're planning to actually drive it rather than just show it. These early 60s C10s, especially short beds, have become seriously collectible, and good ones are getting harder to find. This one seems to strike a nice balance between classic looks and modern drivability. Just remember to do a thorough inspection, but from the description, it sounds like a well-maintained example that's ready to hit the road. 7. We're looking at a pretty sweet deal. A 1963 Chevy C10 that's been in the same family since new, listed at $6,500 in Kennewick, Washington. Let me tell you why this one's interesting. First off, that price point is pretty attractive for a 63 C10, especially one with this kind of history. Single-family ownership since new is a huge plus, and it being a California-built truck that spent its life in Washington suggests it might have escaped the worst of the rust issues these old trucks often face. Under the hood, they've upgraded to a rebuilt 350 V8 with a 4-barrel carb, HEI ignition, and dual exhaust. All solid, reliable upgrades that make it more drivable. The power steering is another nice modern touch, and it's got a 3-speed manual transmission for those who like to row their own gears. What's really cool is that it still has its deluxe chrome and stainless trim package, and even the original SI green-tinted windshield in excellent condition. That's a rare find on these trucks. The seller mentions it's a very solid little truck, which is crucial for these classics. At $6,500, this seems like a pretty honest deal for a running, driving classic C10 with documented history. Sure, it might not be a show queen, but it's got good bones and some smart upgrades. The seller seems transparent and is even willing to help with shipping arrangements for out-of-state buyers. For someone looking to get into classic trucks without breaking the bank, this could be a great opportunity. Just make sure to get some of those additional pictures the seller mentioned, especially of the underside, before making the trip. But honestly, at this price point for a family-owned 63 C10, it's definitely worth a look. 8. Let's talk about this 1971 Chevy K10 that's up for grabs at $9,800. This one's got some interesting features that deserve our attention. Let's be completely honest here. This is a lifted K10 that's been built to make a statement. It's sitting on brand new Mickey Thompson wheels and tires, still with the stickers on, that's how fresh they are, and it's packing a small block V8 matched to a 4-speed manual transmission, which is a fun combination for an old-school 4x4. The seller's been upfront about the condition. There's some rust in the cab corners, which is pretty common for these trucks, but importantly, the rockers and floorboards are solid. That's crucial because those are usually the expensive fixes on these old Chevys. They've done some recent mechanical work too, including a new battery, fuel pump, and a freshly rebuilt Edelbrock carb. At $9,800, you're in the ballpark for a running, driving K10 from this era, especially considering the new wheels and tires, which aren't cheap, and the mechanical updates. The manual transmission adds to the appeal for enthusiasts who like to do their own shifting. The seller's pretty clear about their position. No lowball offers, no payments, but they might consider trades for the right vehicle plus cash. That's fair given the current market for these classic 404s, which have been climbing in value. If you're looking for a classic K10 that's ready to hit the trails or turn heads at cars and coffee, this could be worth checking out. Just make sure to inspect those cab corners in person and maybe plan for some rust repair down the line. But overall, for a running driving 71 K10 with some nice upgrades, the price isn't out of line with today's market. 9. We're looking at something pretty special. A 1972 Chevrolet Cheyenne Super C20 that's listed for $20,500. And let me tell you, this is one seriously well-equipped heavy-duty classic. Let's dive into what makes this truck special. First off, it's a Cheyenne Super, the top trim level for 72, and it's loaded with factory options. We're talking about a truck that was specially ordered with heavy-duty everything: cooling, brakes, transmission cooler, and it came with the big block Turbo 400 combo. The original option sheet in the glove box proves it's a true heavily optioned truck. The current setup is even more impressive. It's running a newer 404 big block that's been upgraded with Edelbrock aluminum intake and Merlin heads, backed by that bulletproof TH400 transmission. Yes, it drinks gas like a thirsty elephant, 911 mpg, and the seller's refreshingly honest about that. But that's the price of big block power. The restoration work appears thorough and thoughtful. The paint is 4 to 5 years old, and they did it right by removing the bed. Speaking of the bed, it's dent-free with a bed liner. They've installed a new factory-style wire harness, not aftermarket, new carpet, original-style seat cover, and a host of new components including brakes, alternator, carb, and more. The dual factory tank setup is interesting. It's plumbed for 3 tanks, though only running one currently. At $28,500, while it's not cheap, you're getting a seriously well-equipped, properly restored C20 with documented options and smart upgrades. The odometer shows 100K but has rolled over, though that's less relevant given the extensive work done. 10. Let me tell you about this absolutely fascinating 1957 Ford Ranchero I just came across on Craigslist. This is one of those vehicles that perfectly blends classic style with thoughtful modern upgrades, and I'm genuinely excited to share it with you. Listed at $18,000, this Ranchero is rocking a 302 Windsor V8 from a 66-68 Mustang. That's a serious heart transplant that adds some real muscle to this classic. The yellow paint really makes it pop, and with only 21,572 miles on the odometer, it's looking pretty sweet. What really catches my attention are all the performance and comfort upgrades. We're talking Wildwood front disc brakes for better stopping power, a Ford Racing intake manifold paired with a Holley carb, and a smooth shifting FMX automatic transmission. The dual exhaust with Flowmasters must make this thing sound absolutely fantastic. The seller has clearly invested in reliability too. There's a new aluminum radiator, electronic ignition, fresh battery and cables, and a new gas tank. The bed has been treated with a spray-on liner, and there's a new tonneau cover to keep everything protected. Inside, you'll find bucket seats and a rally instrument cluster, adding both comfort and style. The 3.0 ratio in the Ford 9-inch rear end makes this a practical cruiser, and with a clean title and registration through August 2025, it's ready to roll. From what I can see in the listing, this Ranchero appears to be in excellent condition, and the extensive list of new parts and upgrades suggests it's been well maintained. For $18,000, you're getting a unique piece of automotive history that's been thoughtfully modernized while maintaining its classic charm. 11. Let me tell you about this super clean 1985 El Camino. I just found, for $12,000, we're looking at what appears to be a really well-preserved piece of 80s automotive history. What makes this one special is its incredibly low mileage, just 49,000 original miles, which is pretty rare for these vehicles. This El Camino comes with the fuel-injected V6, which might not be as glamorous as the V8 option, but honestly, it's a reliable power plant that offers decent fuel economy while still maintaining that classic El Camino character. The automatic transmission and rear-wheel drive setup is exactly what you'd want in a cruiser like this. What really catches my attention is the seller's claim that this car has been garage kept since new, and you know what? The condition seems to back that up. The red paint looks clean in the listing, and indoor storage makes a huge difference in preserving these classics. The owner has taken care of the important stuff too. New tires for safety, and they've addressed 2 crucial comfort items, a new AC system and heater core. If you know these cars, you'll appreciate that having both heating and cooling working properly is a big deal. For $12,000, you're getting a well-preserved example of the final generation El Camino with documented low mileage. These vehicles are becoming increasingly collectible, especially ones that haven't been beaten up or modified. Look, I see a lot of El Caminos come through Craigslist, but finding one with this kind of mileage and in this condition isn't something you see every day. If you're in the market for a clean, original El Camino, this one deserves a serious look. 12. Let me tell you about this interesting 1974 Ford Ranchero 500 I just spotted for $5,500. Now this is what I'd call an honest driver's car from the 70s. The heart of this beast is a 351 Cleveland V8 paired with the bulletproof C6 automatic transmission. That's a solid powertrain combination that Ford got really right. With 64,446 miles showing, it's lived a life but hasn't been run into the ground. The seller's been straight with us, listing it in good condition, not trying to oversell it as perfect. They've put in some meaningful work where it counts. New dual exhaust system and fresh brakes, which are exactly the kind of updates you want to see. I really like that it comes with both a set of more modern Mustang wheels and the original steel wheels. That gives you options. Both sets apparently have good rubber, which is a nice bonus. The gray paint looks period correct, and being smog exempt is a huge plus for future modifications if that's your thing. For $5,500, you're looking at a running, driving piece of Ford history that you can actually use. The tags are good until December 2025, so there's no immediate hassle with registration. Look, it's not a show car, and at this price point, you wouldn't expect it to be. But what you're getting is a solid, usable classic with one of Ford's best engine-transmission combinations. These Rancheros are getting harder to find, especially ones that haven't been completely worn out or modified beyond recognition. 13. Let me tell you about this absolute beast of a 1978 Chevy C10 I just found. At $13,500, we're looking at a serious performance build that's got muscle for days. Let's be real here. This isn't your grandfather's work truck anymore. The heart of this monster is a 454 big block, and if you know your Chevys, you know that's serious business. The sellers built this with a streetable cam, which means it's got the grunt, but should still be manageable for regular driving. The transmission is a properly built 4L80 with a manual valve body and a sidewinder shifter. That's a serious setup for putting power to the ground. What really catches my attention is the attention to detail in the build. They've gone with a painless wire harness, goodbye old electrical gremlins, and the cooling system's been upgraded with an oversized aluminum radiator and fans. The 12-bolt rear end with 3.73 gears and G80 Posey is pretty much the perfect setup for a street-driven performance truck. The odometer shows 1,000 miles but has rolled over. That's typical for these old trucks, so no surprises there. They've addressed practical matters too, with new rubber seals for the glass and doors, and upgraded power stop brakes. Those 22 wheels tucked under the body give it a mean stance. Look, $13,500 for a built C10 with a 454. And this level of upgrades is actually pretty reasonable in today's market. This isn't a stock restoration. It's a purpose-built hot rod truck that someone has clearly invested serious time and money into. If you're in the market for a C10 that can smoke the tires and turn heads, this one deserves a serious look. Just remember, with a built big block, you're not winning any fuel economy awards, but that's not why anyone builds a truck like this anyway. 14. Let's talk about this 1971 Ford F-250 I just found for $1,000, and I'm going to be completely straight with you about what we're looking at here. This is definitely a project truck, but for the price, it might be worth considering if you're handy with wrenches. The good news first, the seller's being honest about the truck's condition, listing it as fair. The previous owner drove it from Marysville to Bothell without issues, which tells us the engine was at least running, though admittedly with low power. The seller mentions it might just need a tune-up, but at this age, plan for more extensive work. Here's what's working in its favor. It's got good tires and rims that look relatively new. The cab mounts are solid with no rust. That's huge for these old Fords. And the floors are rust-free too. The doors close properly, which is another good sign for the overall structure. Now for the reality check. The transmission has been removed, though they're offering a Core C6 trans with the deal, so this truck isn't going anywhere under its own power. The dual tank selector valve needs replacement, the rear sliding window needs work on its seals, and there's a patch in the bed center from previous repairs. For $1,000, you're basically buying a rolling project with good bones. The lack of rust in critical areas is a big plus, but you're looking at some significant work to get it roadworthy again. You'll need a trailer or tow truck to get it home, and factor in the cost of at least a transmission rebuild if you use the included core. Look, if you're mechanically inclined and looking for a classic Ford truck project that won't break the bank initially, this could be your ticket. Just go into it with open eyes. This is a project, not a quick flip. But with these old Fords becoming increasingly popular, it might be worth the effort if you've got the time and skills to bring it back to life. 15. Let me tell you about this interesting 1966 GMC pickup I just found listed for $15,000. This is one of those trucks that sits right in the sweet spot between classic charm and practical usability. And I've got to be straight with you about what we're looking at here. Under the hood, we've got a Board 350 paired with a TH350 transmission. That's a reliable, no-nonsense powertrain combination that's easy to maintain and find parts for. The sellers made some smart upgrades where it counts. Drum-to-disc brake conversion, power brakes, and power steering. These are exactly the kind of modifications you want to see because they make the truck much more drivable in today's traffic. Now, let's be real about the condition. The seller's honest that this isn't a show truck, and with 300,000 miles rolled over, it's seen its share of life. But here's what's cool. It's got that classic wood bed, which adds some serious vintage appeal, and it's rolling on new BF Goodrich Baja Champion tires. The recent rewiring job is a huge plus, because electrical issues can be a nightmare on these old trucks. The rebuilt title is something to consider in the price negotiation, but don't let that completely scare you off. Many of these old trucks have stories to tell. The green paint gives it that perfect classic truck vibe, and the 8-foot bed makes it actually useful as a pickup. For $15,000, you're getting a classic truck that's been modernized in the right ways while keeping its vintage character. The sellers owned it for 25 years, which usually means they know the truck's quirks and history. Look, if you're expecting a pristine, numbers-matching show truck, this isn't it. But if you want a classic GMC that you can actually drive and use while still turning heads, this could be your ticket. 16. Let me tell you about this absolutely killer 1970 Chevy C20 I just found for $15,500. This is one of those builds where someone has clearly done things right, and I'm genuinely excited to share this one with you. Let's start with the heart of this beast, a 350 small block with 4-bolt mains, paired with a brand new B&M Turbo 400 transmission built to handle 600 HP. That's serious business, folks. The seller has gone through this truck with a fine-tooth comb, upgrading practically everything that matters. We're talking a new 570 CFM Holly Street Avenger carb, fresh Hedman headers, and a complete ignition system upgrade with HEI distributor and MSD cables. What really impresses me is the attention to detail on the maintenance items. They've installed a new 4-row aluminum radiator, power steering pump, fuel system components, and completely refreshed the brake system. The cooling system is all new with a proper fan shroud and clutch fan setup. The interior has been completely redone. New black door panels, carpet with sound deadener, reupholstered bench seat, new dash pad, and even a tilt steering column with a forever sharp wheel. That's the kind of comprehensive restoration that shows someone really cared about doing things right. The exterior maintains that awesome original patina paint that you just can't fake, sitting on HD wheels with excellent tires. They've even replaced all the trim pieces, lenses, and added new door locks with matching ignition switch. Those little details matter. At $15,500, considering all the new parts and the solid foundation of this truck, you're getting a lot of vehicle for your money. The fact that it comes with the original build sheet is a nice bonus for documentation. 17. We're diving into a classic beauty that's up for grabs on Craigslist. A 1966 Ford Ranchero. This vintage ride is looking for a new owner, and it could be you. Now, let's talk about the nitty-gritty. The seller has listed this Ranchero in good condition, and from what we can see, it looks like it's been well taken care of. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful 8-cylinder engine that's ready to roar. Plus, with a clean title and an automatic transmission, you can hop in and cruise down the road without any worries. But here's the really exciting part. The owner has recently given this Ranchero some serious TLC. In July 2024, they installed a brand new painless wiring system, ensuring that all the electrics are in tip-top shape. They've also fitted new headlights and switches, so you can see clearly and control your lights with ease. And if that wasn't enough, they're even throwing in a bunch of extra parts. Now, I know what you might be thinking. But what's the catch? Well, as far as I can tell, there isn't one. The seller seems genuinely honest about the condition of this Ranchero, and they've put in the work to make sure it's ready for its next adventure. Of course, as with any used car, it's always a good idea to take a closer look and maybe even bring along a mechanic friend to give it a once-over. But if everything checks out, this could be your chance to own a piece of American automotive history. So, if you've got $8,000 burning a hole in your pocket and a love for classic cars, why not take a swing at this 1966 Ford Ranchero? With its good condition, new upgrades, and extra parts, it's a deal that's hard to beat. Happy bidding, and maybe we'll see you cruising down the street in this beauty soon. 18. We've got a real treat for you. A 1976 Chevrolet Silverado that's up for grabs on Craigslist. This classic beauty is just begging for a new owner to take it home and give it some love. First things first, let's talk about the condition. The seller has listed this Silverado as being in good shape, and from what we can see, it looks like they're telling the truth. This isn't some rust bucket that's been sitting in a field for decades. No, this truck has been somewhat restored and is ready to hit the road. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful 350 crate motor that's paired with an automatic transmission. And let me tell you, this thing runs and drives like a dream. The seller says that everything works just as it should, so you won't have to worry about any unexpected surprises. Now I know what some of you might be thinking, but what about the odometer? Well, the seller has been upfront about the fact that it has rolled over, but with only 103,140 miles on the clock, this truck still has plenty of life left in it. Of course, the seller does admit that this Silverado isn't quite show quality just yet. But with a little bit of love and care, it could easily become a real head-turner. And honestly, that's part of the fun of owning a classic car, getting to put your own personal touch on it and make it truly yours. So what's the bottom line here? If you're in the market for a classic truck that's in good condition and ready to roll, this 1976 Chevrolet Silverado might just be the one for you. The seller is asking $21,000 cash, but they're also open to possible trades. And with a clean title and a powerful engine under the hood, this is a deal that's hard to beat. 19. We've got a real treat for you. A 1982 Chevy K5 that's up for grabs on Craigslist. This classic SUV is ready to hit the road and take on any adventure you can throw at it. First off, let's talk about the condition. The seller has listed this K5 as being in good shape, and from what we can see, it looks like they're spot on. The seller mentions that it's mostly solid, which is a big plus for any vehicle of this age. And let's be real, finding a classic SUV that's not riddled with rust is like finding a needle in a haystack. But the real kicker here is that this K5 isn't just a pretty face. It's got the guts to back it up. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful 8-cylinder engine that's ready to roar. And with 4-wheel drive, you can take this baby off-road and conquer any terrain you come across. Now I know some of you might be a little wary of the odometer having rolled over. But let's be real. This is a classic vehicle, and a little bit of mileage is to be expected. The important thing is that it runs and drives excellently, and the seller says that everything works just as it should. And can we talk about the paint job for a second? This K5 is rocking a sleek black exterior that's sure to turn heads wherever you go. It's the kind of color that just screams cool and confident. So what's the bottom line here? If you're in the market for a classic SUV that's in good condition, has plenty of power under the hood, and looks damn good doing it, this 1982 Chevy K5 might just be the one for you. The seller is asking $7,500, which seems like a fair price for a vehicle of this caliber. Of course, as with any used vehicle, it's always a good idea to take a closer look and maybe even have a mechanic give it a once-over. But if everything checks out, this could be your chance to own a piece of American automotive history. 20. We've got something really special to share with you. A fully restored 1972 Chevrolet C10 that's up for grabs on Craigslist. And let me tell you, this truck is an absolute stunner. First things first, let's talk about the restoration. The seller has gone all out on this one, taking the truck down to bare metal and giving it a fresh coat of paint just last month. The result is a flawless exterior that looks like it just rolled off the factory floor. But the real magic happens when you pop the hood. Under the hood, you'll find a brand new 350 cubic inch Chevrolet crate motor that's barely been broken in. With less than 1,000 miles on the clock, this engine runs like a dream and has plenty of power to spare. And when paired with the automatic transmission, this C10 drives like a modern vehicle, smooth, responsive, and ready for anything. But the restoration doesn't stop there. The seller has gone through every inch of this truck, making sure that all systems are fully functional and in top condition. From the brakes to the electrical system, everything has been gone over with a fine-toothed comb, and the result is a truck that not only looks great, but runs great too. Now I know some of you might be a little wary of aftermarket modifications, but hear me out. The only change the seller has made is a modernized push-button start system that adds a touch of convenience and style to the dashboard. It's a tasteful upgrade that doesn't take away from the classic look of the truck, and it works like a charm. So, what's the bottom line here? If you're in the market for a fully restored classic truck that's ready to hit the road, this 1972 Chevrolet C10 is the one for you. Whether you want to use it as a daily driver or just take it out on weekends, this truck can do it all. And with a clean title and only 3,136 miles on the odometer, you can be sure that you're getting a vehicle that's built to last. Of course, a truck like this doesn't come cheap. The seller is asking $30,000, which might seem like a lot at first glance. But when you consider the time, effort, and money that went into this restoration, it's actually a pretty fair price. And let's be real, you're not just buying a truck, you're buying a piece of automotive history.